Hi everyone, I'm Alex Anderson and I am in the hilltops of Orinda. Oh, it's even better than that. I'm at the home of Freddy Moran. Many of you know Freddy. Her celebration of color living is just over the top, and you'll see that as we go and visit with her. But wait, double trouble. Jean's here too. Listen, before we go in, we're gonna get a bunch of pictures for you, but really keep your eyes peeled. I mean, look at this. There's art everywhere. Freddy knows how to do it. I'm not gonna knock on the door. I'm just gonna go inside and see if I can find those two. Hey, is anybody home here? I think they're in the sewing room, but listen, before we get going, I want to take just a look around here. This place is spectacular. And who has a tree growing in their front hall? Remember, Freddy says red is a neutral. And I'll tell you what, I think all these colors are a neutral as your eyes gets to feast on all the glory. Let's go head down the hall and see if they're in the studio. I bet they are. Let's go. Before we get started, it's really important for me to tell you what Freddy means to me. I can remember having Freddy in my class a million years ago at the Cotton Patch.
1,000,000.
She was so driven and so in focus that I think she had the quilt done before the first day was over. I mean, I don't know, but this person puts on her blinders, gets an idea, and runs with it. She's also been a wonderful cheerleader to me. I'm so lucky to have her in my life. But also, I have Jean Wells in my life. She too has been wind beneath my wings. I wouldn't be here today without Jean. Let's just put it that way. She got me to write my first book. She has always supported me, and I feel honored that I get to introduce you to these two wonderful, beautiful women, Freddy Moran and Jean Wells.
I am so thrilled to be here today with some of my favorite people also. And I've known Freddy for a really long time. And I have to say, when I come in this room, it feels magical to me. And I remember years and years ago when I said to Freddy, do you ever go in your room and not have something you want to do? And she said, well, I just pick up two pieces of fabric and sew them together. And you're going to see a lot of beautiful work today. And I want Freddy to share part of what she's been doing in these last few years with these wonderful faces.
I made a promise to myself when I got well that I would make a face every day. And I did that for several years until my quilt ran out of space. And so now I do a quilt about 2 a week. And I really feel that some of the quilts, the faces are better than others, like you making a quilt. Some of your quilts are better than others. Some you might like and other people don't like, but it's okay. It's the process. And what I'm doing is keeping my creative spirit going. So I love making the faces. I was inspired. I took a class right before I got sick, and it was called mainly Matisse. And Matisse did some faces, and I had no idea of copying them. I just liked the idea. Some are better than others. I always say to my students, it's okay to make a lousy quilt.
Yeah.
Everybody makes one or two. You just work away at your artistry, and if you work hard enough and long enough, you will come out a winner on the other side.
Well, you know, Freddy, I'm thinking about something that you are really well known for. And that is red is a neutral.
Yes.
And I can remember the first time I heard it and I started thinking, oh, well, how would you put red with this color or that color? But you're going to see today an amazing group of quilts and artistry that really focuses on red. So what's your response to that, Freddie?
Well, I don't consciously do any of that. I do what I feel like I should do for myself. And if others like it, that's a bonus. But that's not why I work the way I do. When I first started making quilts, I would take a class. I took 100 Gene Wells classes, and I noticed that red was very predominant in my quilts. And so I did a little experiment for myself. I put a true red piece of fabric on the desk, and I threw all these colors on, and everything looked good. Now, you can't say that for beige. Beige and lime green don't do it. Red and beige do it. Red and lime green do it. But I just found that the key for me of making artwork is to stay within my palette. If you asked me to make a beige quilt, I would have to say, I'm sorry, I don't do that. It's been a process that has kept me creative and going. I am now 93 years old, and if you had told me 20 years ago that I would still be making artwork, I would have said you were crazy. But as I look at it now, as long as my health holds, I'll be able to make quilts for the rest of my life. As I say, not all of them are great. Some are good, some are really lousy, and some, once in a while, you get a great one. So what I've done is I just keep making them, and that's the category they come in. They come in lousy, so-so, and great. And you can't make great. I can't make a great quilt every single day. So it's okay. I've allowed myself the permission to just work my creativity and not worry about whether people are going to like it. Or that's the other thing. You can't worry about other people liking your work. It's your work and not theirs. And you are probably working twice as hard at your work than they are. So I just think that, thank God for quilt making. They're the nicest people you could ever meet, and they want you to win. They are my friend Alex. We met years ago, and we pick up on our friendship just like we left it up 10 weeks ago with Jean. Jean, I go up, two sisters. I used to a couple times a year, and now Jean comes down here a couple of times a year. So it's really just a blessing to have found quilt making and how it's carried me through all these years of my life. So I'm very, very lucky.
Here we are in Freddie's marvelous bedroom. I remember when she moved from the upstairs down to this room and created this magical place. On the bed, you see one of her house quilts, and that was her very first book, was house quilts. And John's going to show you some close-ups of some of this, and it's just a really fun quilt. And I want to say this, that Freddy is not afraid of any fabric. And you see such a variety of content in the prints that she uses. And you look at the quilt behind me, and I'm going to have Freddy tell you a story about it, but it's her very first collage quilt. And I just think it's spectacular, and I love the scale that she used in that piece. So Freddy, tell me about it.
Okay, I made lots of quilts, and I'd say for Neil, and he would say, oh, that's nice. So when I was working on this, he said, oh, I want that one.
Oh.
So I kept going. I finished making it, and I was, even I was stunned at what turned out.
Well, it's dramatic.
I never have a plan. I just go
Respond,
ahead
don't you?
and I'll pick up a piece of fabric and I'll use it. I don't put it back. I make myself use it. So if you do that enough times, it all works. So that's a lot of what went on there.
Yeah, I could look at this forever. Well, I think we should go look at
Neil's quilt,
the other quilt you made him, because I love that one too.
Yeah.
I mean, Neil was a lucky guy. Freddie, why don't you share what you told me about how you started with this quilt, with that one piece of fabric?
Well, I didn't know what I was going to do with it, and I loved these red walls. So I figured that once Neil got tired of the collage, we could move it and move another quilt in. So I had taken a class from Alex, and I had made a star quilt, and I did my own stuff. I did stars over here, and maybe a few houses here, and some more stars over here. And so when it came to making this, I thought, well, I want large scale and this Texas star. And then I love the four corners with stars. So it was really, again, I would pick up a piece of fabric and I used it. I get a kick out of students that they go through their bag and they find a piece and they use it instead of just instinctively picking up a piece of fabric, and you have to use it. There's no excuse. You have to use it. Now, whether you put a piece of fabric over it is another matter, but you use it. So I think the more you get in tune to grabbing and using instead of rooting around, finding the perfect rose quilt and using it, that doesn't go. You just put your hand in, get a piece of fabric, and use it. So that way, there's none of this matchy-matchy. It just becomes scrappy, but with enough organization that you know what you're doing. So this quilt was really fun to make because I knew it would look great against these walls. And it also allowed me to repeat colors, which I didn't do very often. So the red was repeated and the background was repeated. So I just really, I had a really good time making this quilt and just pulling fabric and then making sure there was enough to go around. And I the size, and I did it in cool colors, and I'm saving it for when my granddaughter gets married, and those are her palettes. And I just think that, again, I made a lot of quilts to come up with a really good quilt. So it doesn't happen just like magic. It just doesn't. You have to do the work.
Freddie, what is the first thing that you felt when you came to the very first quilt show?
But I couldn't wait for more. I had been told that the quilts were hanging outside and inside, but you have no idea of the impact it makes emotionally for me. I brought tears to my eyes to see all of those quilts blowing in the wind. It was just over the top for me. And that year I went and I took a class, and I don't remember, I took 5 days of classes. I don't remember all the teachers, but it was great. And so the next year you asked me to teach. So I started teaching at the quilt show, and I showed my quilts every year, and actually I am still showing
That's
quilts. And Dawn, the director, has a whole bunch in her office. So
Yes, they're going to be up online for people to purchase here
Right.
shortly.
right. So anyway, I would say that the quilt show added a whole new dimension to my quilting experience.
Well, you know what's interesting when you said about seeing the quilts for the first time? This will be our 49th year. I still just get the shivers early in the morning
Do you?
when I see people starting to put the quilts up, and I just get tears in my
I
eyes.
know. I know.
It is magical.
Yeah, I know the feeling. It's just nothing will take its place. And yeah, to watch those quilts go up, it's just, I go down to the store at about 7 o'clock and then watch the quilts go up. So it's really, really fun.
You know, I feel like I'm standing in a museum when I come to Freddy's. And I've been here numerous times. And one of the first times I remember asking her about all the different paint colors. And there are 37 different paint colors in this house. So it's pretty amazing. And talk about color. But the other thing I've noticed is how she just loves ceramics. I mean, you see plate collections in almost every room. And she has lots of figurines that are ceramics. She collects vases. I mean, there's just a bit of everything. And one time my granddaughters were here with me, and the younger one went around and counted all the rabbits. And she just had the best time. She was so impressed with all Freddy's rabbits. I just threw some quilts out on some of the furniture so that you could see more of her work. And the feeling here is how everything goes together. And who would be brave enough to do all this but Freddy? And I really think she is a very brave woman.
So this has been really fun. You guys, thank you so much.
Oh, it was so wonderful having you, and this is such a great cause, and I am thrilled to be able to do it.
So let's talk about the cause, all right? This quilt show has been going on for 49 years. That's what this year is going to be. 49 years. And when you think about it, it was just a twinkle in somebody's eyes. That's what it was, a twinkle. And now it has grown into this massive show that is an international event, really. You have people come in, don't you?
Oh, yeah.
Right.
From all over. And when people from Sisters travel, like to Europe and things,
Yeah.
and somebody will ask where they're from, they say Sisters, invariably some says, do you know that quilt show?
Exactly.
And we didn't intend for all that to
Twinkle,
happen.
twinkle in your eye,
Yeah.
Jean. And so the thing that's so great about it, okay, it's got a huge global appeal, but let's just talk about the specifics of the show, what makes it so special. First of all, quilts are not juried in. That's a big deal. If you get your quilt in before all the spaces are taken, your quilt is in.
That's right.
It's also free, right? And that's a big deal, which means no parking fees or anything like that. And I believe some of the quilts the artists might be selling, correct? Mm-hmm. So it's okay. I don't know if I've ever said this to you, but to me it's the Woodstock of quilting.
Oh.
Only we keep our clothes on, okay? so people, this costs a lot of money, all right? And you might think, wow, because the store's super packed and all that. No, it costs money, and this is such a valuable event for quilters worldwide, for the town of Sisters, for, well, everybody who's ever attended or is planning to attend. So if you want to be a friend of the show, I mean, if you've been there, how could you not be a friend? And if you're planning to go, we need friends. Jean, how do we do this?
Well, the Sisters Outdoor Quilt Show has a website, and SOQS,
Okay, Sisters Outdoor
Quilt Show. And on that site, you can become a friend of the show.
Okay.
And it's interesting because people always say, well, it's free to attend, but they don't realize we now need an executive director. And so we are hiring, her. And there are just a lot of costs involved with permits from.
We both go, really?
Yeah. Well, you have to have a permit with ODOT for traffic, and then with the city and Public Works, and make sure everything gets cleaned up. And
So it's
there's
not,
all kinds of
I was
things.
going to say, it's not just like, hey, let's go hang quilts. There's a whole lot more to it. And I want to be a friend of the show. I'm a friend of the show. So
And we really appreciate all our friends of the show.
exactly. So, Jean, thank you.
And thank you.
And
Both of you.
I'm going to say, and Freddie.
Oh,
What
yeah,
do we?
such fun.
I know, my buddies are here.
Yeah.
Yeah. And hey, help spread the word, right? Because we want this to continue forever and ever. Amen.
I am so happy you could be here today with us and just see the beauty that you experience in this gorgeous home with this wonderful woman. And she didn't even start quilting till she was 60 years old. She had raised 5 boys, and one of her daughter-in-laws introduced her to quilting. She did everything by hand for 2 years, and then she became very friendly with her sewing machine. So thank you for being here with us and taking part in this glorious day.